These days, when it comes to Pokémon Snap 64, it's all about getting the highest score, finding the best tricks and strategies to get the best photos possible of all 63 Pokémon in the game, which often requires spamming the camera. But one day I got curious and asked myself, what is the least amount of photos you can take to beat Pokémon Snap 64? And so, my goal was simple. I was going to do the bare minimum and figure out how many photos need to be taken to beat the game. It sounds easy on paper, but I'm not talking least amount of photos submitted to Professor Oak. I mean literally the least amount of photos snapped with the camera. This means I can't spam taking photos, and must get a good enough shot every time I take a photo, as points are important. To assist with my mission, I did my research, and put together this simple Excel spreadsheet to help with maximizing my points, and to figure out the best strategy to avoid taking more photos than needed. Oh, and this is Ty from Press A. We haven't really made it clear that there are two people running this channel, but there is. Surprise! With that, let's go. Right away, you're forced to take 3 photos of Pidgey. I was hoping maybe they wouldn't count since we're forced into this, but when it comes to submitting photos to Oak at the end of the stage, these 3 photos are included, so I have to count them. Slightly annoying, but the first photo of Pidgey you're forced to take will give you just over 3,000 points, which for this challenge is good enough, so I don't bother with taking a better Pidgey photo. I want my photos to ideally give out anywhere between 3,000 to 4,000 points, while maximizing points for some Pokemon, as ultimately we will need to unlock the Pokeflute, and that requires 130,000 points. However, it should be noted I'm playing on a ROM of the game, and in the ROM, you're not forced to take photos of Pidgey at the beginning. So I just try to snap a photo similar to the one I'd be forced to take if playing the original game. And I'm still counting the 2 other Pidgey photos I'd otherwise have to take. I should also point out that it's not just about the points, but how many different Pokemon you've taken a photo of. For example, to unlock the next stage, which is the tunnel stage, you must take photos of 6 different Pokemon. Otherwise, you'll have to go back to the beach stage and the game will once again force you to take 3 photos of Pidgey. With that information, I decided to go for easy photos, such as Doduo, Eevee, Meowth, and Pikachu, who is literally just standing there. While the photos I take don't generate the most points for these Pokemon, as to do that I would need either apples or Pester Balls, they still, for the most part, give me a good amount of points. I earned 1,480 points for this photo of Doduo, which was not ideal, 2,620 points for this photo of Eevee, 2,120 points for this photo of Meowth, and 2,560 points for this photo of Pikachu. We're not going for perfect in this challenge, but we still want solid photos, and that's easy to do for these Pokemon in the beach stage. However, easy does not always give you the best points. I also want to avoid taking photos of any Pokemon that require taking multiple photos to get a good shot, such is the case for Lapras. The only way to get a close-up photo of Lapras is to take a photo of her multiple times throughout the stage. Otherwise, it'll be a shitty photo that gives less than 1,000 points. For my 6th Pokemon, I snap a photo of Butterfree over the bridge where you can sometimes find 3 of them, which will give bonus points, because we all know how much Oak loves having more than 1 Pokemon in a photo. I earned 2,420 points for this photo. Finishing the beach stage, I took a total of 8 photos, and my overall score was 14,240 points. Going into the tunnel stage, my goal was to earn enough points to unlock the apples, which requires 24,000 points. And since apples can lead to better photos, I wanted to only snap photos of Pokemon where you didn't need an apple to get a good photo. And so I snapped photos of Electabuzz, Zubat, Haunter, and Diglett. While the best photo of Electabuzz would involve hatching Zapdos to get these 2 working Electabuzzes to walk around, which to do involves apples and the Pokeflute, I settled for taking a photo of the one at the beginning, which gave me 2,520 points. Zubat is a little tough as it flies by fast, but the best way to score a good photo is to look closer to the right and quickly snap a photo as it flies by once the second gate's open. I earned 2,780 points for this photo. For Haunter, the best shot is of the one right past this telephone post. As a helpful trick, I want to make sure the corner of the building is in the background of the photo. I earned 3,300 points for this photo. And for Diglett, I attempt to take a photo as it pops out of the ground and looks like an extended hot dog. Though it wasn't as extended as I wanted it to be, I earned 2,940 points for this photo. Finishing the tunnel stage, I took 4 more photos and earned enough points to unlock the apples. At this point, I have taken photos of 10 different Pokemon. But to unlock the river stage, I will need to have taken photos of 22 different Pokemon. I also just want to take a quick few seconds to say, if you've been enjoying the videos on our channel and haven't subscribed yet, we'd really appreciate if you considered subscribing. We're trying to grow this channel so that we can continue to make videos and content that you guys enjoy. Alright, back to business. I returned to the tunnel stage, as with apples I can now hopefully get shots of different Pokemon that are worth more points. Early in the stage, there is an electrode standing still, where after throwing an apple, it will explode. Snapping a photo while it's exploding will earn extra pose points, and earned me 4,380 points. To get the best photo of Kakuna, I needed to throw an apple at the electrode in the corner, which will get all the Kakunas to fall down. And the best way to get the best shot is to use what is called the pause buffer, where if you press pause and then unpause, it gives you a better opportunity to get the best shot. Another trick people use is constantly moving the camera left and right, which apparently slows down the cart you're in. I earned 3,950 points for this shot. The last two are Magnemite and Magneton. For Magnemite, I attempt to throw an apple past the first one as I'm coming down the hill, so that the two in the background will get closer together. Then I throw apples in front of the first one, with the goal of taking a photo while it's dancing with the others in the background. I didn't manage to do that, but I earned 2,540 points for this shot. And for Magneton, I throw apples to get all three Magnemites together so that they evolve into Magneton. Then once I get it close, I take a photo with the camera pointed just below the top one. I earned 3,580 points for this shot. With that, I took 4 more photos and unlocked the volcano stage. In the volcano stage, there are a lot of Pokemon to take photos of that involve using apples to get the best shot. 7 in total for this run. For Rapidash, I ignore the one that runs by first and focus on the 2 a bit up ahead. As I turn the corner, I constantly throw apples at their feet, which will stall them and make them start to neigh. I take a photo of the Rapidash in front as it's neighing, trying to make sure the other one behind is in the shot for this bonus points. I earned 3,340 points for this photo. For Vulpix, I lure the first one seen shortly after the Rapidashes with apples, while trying to avoid throwing them on its head, to lead the Vulpix to the other 2 just a bit ahead. I then lure all 3 of them together with more apples to a spot under the flowing lava up ahead, where they will then stand in a triangle and do their happy animation, which will provide pose points. And of course, I want to take a shot with ideally all 3 of them in the shot. I earned 2,890 points for this photo. Charmeleon is a little tough for me. There's a spot on the stage where Magmar and Charmander are together. To get the best photo, you need to throw an apple between them, and Magmar will start a fight, which leads to Charmander evolving into Charmeleon. Lure Charmeleon to the edge with apples and take a photo as he roars. But I struggled with this, so I went for an easier shot of Charmeleon at the end of the stage, where I got 3,320 points for this photo. For Charmander, I let the Moltres egg stop me in the track, and look to the left where there are a pair of Charmanders. I toss some apples at them to get them to call their friends. Eventually, there will be a group of Charmanders, which I lured closer to me with more apples. Once they are as close as possible, I throw more apples to get them eating, with the goal of having one Charmander fill the frame as much as possible. I got over 1,000 points just for having all these Charmanders in the photo. I got 4,410 points overall for this photo. For Moltres, I found it easier to get a better photo when you knock off the egg into the lava before hitting the egg, which means I had to go through this stage again. The best pose of Moltres is as he shrieks and shakes the embers off his wings. I got 4,540 points for this photo. A photo of Magmar can produce one of the highest points available in the game, if done correctly. Right after Moltres is a pair of Magmars. Typically, you would toss an apple between them to get them to attack each other, but they had already started to attack without my interference. I quickly take a photo as they are fighting, so that I can get the fighting Magmar pose, which will give a lot of pose points, making sure I take a photo of the Magmar shooting flames and not the one getting its ass kicked. I earned 5,230 points for this photo. For Charizard, I toss an apple at Charmeleon to hit him into the lava pool, which will then evolve him to Charizard. I then throw another apple at its head to get him to attack, which is the pose I want for maximum points. I earned 3,740 points for this photo. That was another 7 photos taken, and at this point, I had taken photos of 21 different Pokemon. So I needed just one more photo to unlock the river course. I decided to go back to the beach, as with apples I can now take photos of Chansey and Kangaskhan. Even though I only need one more photo to unlock the next stage, I will eventually need to have taken photos of more different Pokemon to unlock the Valley course. Plus, I need the point of 2 photos to unlock the Pester Balls, which I will need for the next stage. So for those reasons, I take 2 photos here. To get the best photo of Chansey, I throw an apple at her as she passes the last boulder, and then throw another apple at her. I then take a shot as Chansey is jumping for joy. The goal is to take a shot while the egg is coming out of the pouch, so that Oak will give out the Jolly Pose bonus. I get 3,620 points for this photo. For Kangaskhan, getting the best photo requires the Poke Flute, so that you can get him dancing and get a pose bonus. but spoiler alert, I'm not going to be using the Pokeflute to take photos of any Pokemon in this challenge. You can get a pretty good photo just by throwing an apple at Kangaskong and luring him close to get the shot. I get 3,840 points for this photo. That's 2 more photos taken, and with that, I unlock not only the river stage, but also the Pester Balls. Here we are at the river stage. I just want to point out that I don't need to take any photos to unlock the next stage, which is the cave stage. I only need the Pester Balls to do that. But like I mentioned earlier, we need to take a lot more photos of different Pokemon to unlock the Valley stage. So I take quite a bit of photos in this stage. For Poliwag, I throw a Pester Ball near the first Poliwag on the right, which causes him to run down the hill into another Poliwag. I throw another Pester Ball near those two to get them to run to a third Poliwag. I then throw another Pester Ball at them, which will cause them to run down the hill and jump into the river. I try to take a photo of the Poliwag nearest to my camera and try to make sure all 3 of them are in the photo. I get 3,340 points for this photo. For Bulbasaur, the best photo involves using the Pester Ball to knock off the bulb that you see on the tree stump in this area, and then luring out the Bulbasaur from the fallen tree trunk so that both Bulbasaurs are in the photo. But honestly, I find it much easier just luring out the one Bulbasaur and taking a photo of him while he's eating. And that's what I do. I get 4,090 points for this photo. For Slowbro, I try to lure him closer to the camera and throw an apple for him to eat, as the best shot is of him eating. I get 3,540 points for this photo. For Slowpoke, I wait until the second Slowpoke to take my shot, as you can get a better photo with the second one. After getting Slowpoke to the right spot by luring him with apples, I wait until his tail is up after catching a Shelter and before becoming Slowbro, as this will give out more points. I get 3,220 points for this photo. For Metapod, I use a Pester Ball to bring down the farthest hanging Metapod, which will allow me to stop for a brief moment. I then turn around and throw Pester Balls at the 3 other hanging Metapods, and take a photo of the one directly in front of me while trying to get the other 2 in the background, making sure their pointy bits are facing away. I get 3,410 points for this photo. There are 2 Porygons hidden in the tall grass in this area. The best photo would involve using Pester Balls to get them both out, and then throwing an apple between the 2, using more Pester Balls to get the dirt off them, and then throwing another apple, as the best photo is of them eating. However, I just go for a shot of the one Porygon, as it's much easier to do while giving solid points. I get 4,160 points for this photo. For Psyduck, getting the best shot involves throwing a Pester Ball at him as he waddles through the river. He will then randomly jump out of the river, and the best shot will be when he's sparkling. This is a hard shot to get since it's hard to predict, so I just go for an easy and decent enough shot and take a photo when he's walking nearby. I get 2,280 points for this photo. Once you reach the Slowpokes, Shelters and Cloysters will start to pop out of the river. Shelter is quite difficult to get a decent shot of, but Cloyster is a big boy, and easier to fill the frame with. So I take a photo of Cloyster and get 3,260 points. That's 8 more photos taken, and now I've taken photos of 31 different Pokemon. And that's still not enough to unlock the Valley stage, as Professor Oak wants to see photos of 40 different Pokemon. With the Pester Ball, I'm able to get Porygon to press the switch, and I head to the next stage. Here in the cave stage, there is an opportunity to take one of the highest points photos. It's of course the singing Jigglypuff trio. In this section of the stage, there are 3 Jigglies being chased by Coughings, which I make sure to take out with my apples, saving the Jigglies. Funny enough, this was back before Fairy types were introduced to Pokemon, and Poison types are super effective against Fairy types, which Jigglypuff falls under, so these Jigglies were really in danger. Anyways, I take a photo of the middle Jigglypuff singing, making sure to get the other 2 in the shot. I get 6,330 points for this photo, the highest in this challenge, and making up for some of the subpar photos I've taken. For Ditto, I use a Pester Ball to get him to transform from Bulbasaur back to Ditto, and then throw an apple to get a photo of him eating. Of course, more points with more Dittos in the shot. I get 3,530 points for this photo. For Coughing, the easiest way to get a good photo is to take a photo of the one closer to Weeping Bell, as it will float right in front of the camera as it chases Jigglypuff past you. You can get even more points if you have the Pokeflute and play the second song to get Coughing to do a special pose with a gas shape. But I don't have the Pokeflute yet. I get 3,500 points for this photo. Weeping Bell is pretty straightforward. I just get a shot of him as he's facing towards the camera. I get 2,820 points for this photo. For Victory Bell, the best photo can be taken as soon as he jumps out of the water, as this will give the best pose points. I get 3,720 points for this photo. That's 5 more photos taken and 5 more Pokemon. With the photos taken so far, I've accumulated around 122,000 points, just 8,000 points shy of unlocking the Pokeflute. And I still need to take 4 more photos to unlock the Valley stage. So I need to make these next 4 photos good. Immediately, I know there's 2 easy Pokemon I can take photos of with the Pester Balls, and that's Growlithe and Arcanine in the Volcano stage. I simply throw Pester Balls into the craters here to shake out these Pokemon. It's random whether a Growlithe or Arcanine pop out, with the latter being more rare, but I was fortunate enough to pop out 2 Arcanine and 1 Growlithe. I snap photos of them as they shake embers off their fur to get the best pose. I get 3,440 points for this Growlithe photo, and 4,260 points for this Arcanine photo. These 2 photos boost my total points up to just over 130,000 points, which is how much you need to unlock the Pokeflute. Except for some reason in this ROM, I don't get the Pokeflute, so that's a little concerning. I go back to the cave stage to get an easy photo of Jinx, since points really shouldn't matter anymore since I should already have the Pokeflute. I also snap this horrible photo of Grimer just because it's easy, quick, and takes me to 40 Pokemon photos. With that, I finally unlock the Valley stage, which in my opinion has some of the best Pokemon to take photos of. Unfortunately, or perhaps fortunately, I don't need to take any photos of Pokemon in this stage. After finding Professor Oak's secret shack in the stage, he gives me the mission to take photos of the 6 Pokemon signs, where 1 is hidden in each stage. This is why I didn't take any photos of the signs previously, as Oak won't accept the photo until he gives you the mission, and it would have been a waste of a photo taken. Now, this is where this ROM really goes to shit. With over 130,000 points, I still don't have the Pokeflute for some reason, which you need to have to take photos of 2 signs. And even the signs I can take photos of without the Pokeflute, the photos won't register and I can't submit them to Professor Oak. You might have noticed during this run that when I take photos, it doesn't tell me the Pokemon's name, so I think it has something to do with that. The quality of the photos are also pretty bad, so that doesn't help. But it doesn't really matter, because at this point, I would just be going back to each stage and take a photo of each of the signs, adding 6 more photos taken to my total. And with that done, the last and final stage, the Rainbow Cloud stage, is unlocked. And this stage is very simple. It's just Mew flying around in his bubble, and the only way to beat the game and see the credits is to take 1 photo of Mew. With that, I would be taking my last photo if this ROM wasn't so shit, and with it, beat Pokémon Snap 64. That means it takes a total of 49 photos to beat the game. Not 49 photos submitted to Oak, but 49 photos snapped in total. No more, no less. After completing this challenge, I attempted to find some glitches in the game in hopes of shaving off some photos. Perhaps there is a way to get out of the forced 3 Pidgey photos at the beginning. Or maybe there is a way to take a photo of the 2 signs that require a Pokeflute. But for the most part, this game seems to be pretty glitchless, with a couple exceptions that wouldn't really impact this challenge. But to play the game as it's intended, you have to take 40 photos of different Pokemon, plus the 2 additional Pidgey photos at the beginning, 6 photos of the signs, and 1 last photo of Mew, for a total of 49 photos. I would love to know or see if there are ways to beat the game with taking less than 49 photos. If there are, please let me know. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please consider liking, commenting, or even subscribing. Until next time, keep pressing A.